All right, welcome back to the podcast. We are doing a solo pod today. I got an idea because I had Anthony Gansla from LinkedIn reach out to me, and he has a newsletter that he puts out that is Elevate and Inspire for personal branding. And he asked me if I would be interested in being the creator spotlight for the newsletter. So he sent me over a questionnaire that I'm going to walk through the questions and answer them to the best of my ability. And then I will give that feedback, obviously, back to him for his newsletter. But if you're interested in checking out the newsletter, it's, make sure I get this right, Elevate and Inspire Personal Branding. And it's Anthony Gansla, Gaenzle, on LinkedIn. So let's go ahead and work down through his questions and see how much I can screw them up. We shall see. So, question number one. Please provide insight into your philosophy on personal branding is question number one. So I don't really know if I have I guess I do have a philosophy, but it is new. So I am certainly not an expert. I'm just going to tell you what I'm doing and what seems to be working for me from a personal branding perspective. So authenticity, I like to add humor. And then I'm also trying to help leaders or young leaders or leaders trying to figure it out. That's kind of my personal brand. So humor, authenticity are the two biggest things there. And I try to incorporate those into my posts and, trying to show a little bit of the behind the scenes of the type of person I am instead of kind of preaching at people. I'm just trying to give insight. That's kind of my philosophy, I would say, on personal branding. Question number two, as the CEO of a successful company, SWF Industrial, how do you, let me make this a little bit bigger, how do you leverage your personal brand to help the company grow? So this is brand new insight from me based on I just started really focusing on personal branding in 2024, the beginning, and the leverage I have seen come from that. And I actually just posted about this. One is hiring. I have seen the success of people wanting to work at SWF or work in our culture, specifically based on how we post either through the company or how I'm posting things about the company or posting things about leadership culture, all the things we're doing at SWF. So I've seen a huge bonus in personal branding and the connection to people wanting to work at the company, which is obviously makes recruiting a lot easier, which means you don't have to go to a recruiting firm, so you can save some money there. And you're usually getting high potential people who are looking to work in a similar culture that you are showing, but you also have to be the person that you say you are or the culture you are online. So certainly that's where the authenticity from the first question comes in. The other way it's leveraged, I've met a lot of amazing people through the podcasting, and some of those are subject matter experts in specific areas that we have utilized and implemented for innovation inside the company. One of those being AI with Charlie Treadwell, which is a podcast episode that's coming out pretty shortly. Just being able to speak with subject matter experts, leadership consultants, EOS people, you name it. You're kind of picking nuggets out of their extreme knowledge and just being really smart in areas that I am not, and I'm able to pick up and ask them questions and dive into some of their philosophies and things like that I think I've been able to use and bring back to the company. Okay, question number three. You create a lot of great content, podcasts, videos, social media, etc. Thank you. How do you find the time to do that in addition to your leadership role? It's interesting because I've had a couple people ask me, how do you keep up with all of your hobbies and do everything? So I would say with my previous, I've always been extremely good at time management. So I try to take all moments throughout the day and use them to, fill with whatever. So whether that's you're sitting and waiting at the vet and you can be on, ChatGPT and asking questions or sorting things out or responding to emails or coming up with scripts and things like that. Obviously using AI to speed a lot of that stuff up has been extremely helpful. I try to stay far ahead on my calendar as well to help alleviate quick problems or having to deal with things after the fact to try to stay, at least 4 to 8 weeks ahead on a lot of this stuff so that I'm not cramming everything in. So I would say extreme time management, utilizing AI to keep things moving quickly, and then use all the pockets of your time. Much again. The next question, you built tons of trust among your team and people seem to love working for you. I wouldn't say all of them. We do the best we can. How has your personal brand played a role in that? I think with people coming in, and I do think people engaging on LinkedIn, not all of our people at work do, but having some employees on the podcast as well has been helpful. It's just really putting out kind of the person you are, not being afraid to lean into some of that personal stuff so that you're a human being, fellow human being, fellow team member amongst the team. People get to know you on a deeper level, I believe. I think really around that, I think book club has probably helped that more from a company perspective than anything. But personal branding obviously lets people know who you are from outside the company or outside your personal circle or family or whatever that looks like. So it will amaze you from a personal brand perspective if you stay consistent with your message on what's important to you, stay consistent with posting and things like that. How many people think they know you on a deeper level, even though you've never met them? So it's pretty interesting. The next question. Love the podcast. Thank you. How did you develop the concept and how do you choose your guests? Oh, good question. The concept really came from Jonathan Core on LinkedIn posted that if you're a construction executive, you should be thinking about doing a podcast because one, it'll help with customer base. It could help with employees. It could help with internal employees, internal culture, like all of those things. And I said, hey, I'm concerned about all of those. So I'm not a salesperson by nature. I don't know how to sell that way. So this is my way of getting out there instead of going to, what do they call them? Like trade shows or functions like that, like meet and greets. I don't enjoy those at all. They make me super nervous and don't like to be in those kind of giant group ups of people. So the podcast was really a way to keep myself out there, get to meet different people, whether it be industry, SMEs, doesn't really matter. And then, taking the post seriously of what Jonathan said to help solve some of the problems that I worry about inside the company. So that's really where the idea of the concept of the podcast came from. Choosing guests, I leave it wide open because I never want to run out of guests. So it is everything and anything. And mostly it's because I believe you can learn something from everybody. So whether it's somebody's passion or something you don't agree with or something you're totally novice to or don't understand, I mean, you name it, I've learned something from every single guest that has come on. So I see that as a huge plus. And the Just Some BS name is because my name is Brandon Stanchak and some of it is just BS. So it's kind of a double meaning. Next up, what challenges have you faced along your personal branding journey and how have you solved them? Your personal branding journey and how have you solved them? So I think the hardest thing to start out with the personal branding journey is I'm boring. I don't have anything to talk about. It's what everybody faces. So I think the biggest solve around that is opening your mind up to everything can be a post. So whether it's a challenge, an issue, solution, innovation, eureka moment. Oh my gosh, how did somebody not know that? Anytime those things, it's really writing them down. It's really capturing your thoughts more than it is coming up with post ideas. AI is a huge help with strategizing post ideas and things like that, rewriting, your own words to be more concise and not so wordy because nobody wants to read like a 16-page post. So leveraging the things you can use to speed up that process or just brainstorm with someone else along that and just being conscious that your thoughts can be posts, even if it's just like Jonathan Corpus perfectly said, brain dump. So just dumping all the things that happen to you either daily or weekly that stood out to you that if you can remember them in a week's time, you can pivot them to make them postable. So I'm a structured person, so I've been really focusing on keeping specific days for specific things. I want to kind of utilize that more into, the future and see how that resonates with the audience. But figuring out your niche, who you want to target, who you want to help, give away as much free stuff as possible. Anything you learn, anything that was helpful to you, give that away for free because there's tons of people out there who may need it, may utilize it. So yeah, I think those are some of the things. Next question. What social channels do you find the most value in and why? I would say YouTube is a big one for me, and then LinkedIn's the other one. If we're talking personal branding for work, LinkedIn for sure. I think it's a highly underutilized, undervalued social platform, especially for growing and for people who actually want to or have the power to purchase things. I think it's you have the easy ability to stand out if you just don't keep it business, right? You can still pivot and show a bit of your personal self in that, but still pivot around, what you're trying to do, who you're trying to help. Even, metal fabrication can look awesome online. So any of that stuff, it can all be, I like to use the word scroll stoppers. If you can get somebody to stop scrolling because your stuff stands out, like that's exactly what you're looking for. And YouTube is really a hobby for me based on my personal hobbies and what I like to do. So those are the two platforms that I find value in, I believe. Everything else, it's kind of a mess for me. What are your future goals for your personal brand? Continue growth, continue consistency. Like I said, I am trying to have specific days follow kind of a guideline for the content I want to do on those days. So I'm going to continue that. I'm going to continue that in the future to be structured. Really, consistency for me moving into 25, being more consistent than I was in 24. Keep giving away free stuff. Keep giving away things that have helped me through my career, or the people that have helped me, help them find more business. Just humor, filling potential, consistency are like the three big things for me for goals. You do a lot of video, and the production value is great. What recommendations do you have for people looking to do video on a similar level? So video took me, I don't know, this is probably like 6 years I've been doing YouTube videos, and the first ones were horrible. They were. I was just actually looking at them today for some future posts I have coming up, and like, oh my God, the lighting's just awful and so awkward. It's amazing. And, trim out all the fat, keep it concise. Don't waste people's time. If you wouldn't watch it, or if you don't smile when you're editing, trim it, take out the fat. Like, that's, I've been really focusing on, like, if it doesn't catch me or I'm getting bored, everyone's going to get bored. So really try to trim those areas. The idea is probably the most important thing, whether you're talking YouTube, I think, or any type of video content. The idea is the most important thing. And then from a YouTube perspective, thumbnail, script writing would be second there. But always start with the idea. Find a good idea, twist it yourself. There's lots of amazing programs out there. vidIQ is amazing for finding topic ideas and comparing your content to other people in your niche and things like that. When it comes to personal branding, leadership, LinkedIn stuff, I try to use video content with humor, that will help people kind of on their leadership journey, on their growth journey, kind of the things I like to talk about, but add humor into that as much as I possibly can. Recommendations, anything short form, I use CapCut. Anything long form, I use DaVinci Resolve. If you have a laptop that can run those types of things, if you travel a lot and you don't feel like you have time, do your editing on a plane. And that is a perfect time to get a lot of work done if you have that kind of a powerful PC. Because DaVinci Resolve can get a little muddy in the sense of specs for a computer. CapCut, obviously not as much, but you have to have an internet access to do that. And don't make your music too loud. Make sure you always use captions. Yeah. And the idea, make it interesting. What advice do you have for aspiring creators for getting started and ways to ramp up and scale? It's really funny that this question is being asked for me because I don't see myself any bigger than an aspiring creator. So I think I'm on the same journey. I would say somebody who's figuring out as well is they're not going to be good at the beginning. They said usually it's the first 100 that are terrible before you get to a point where you start liking what you're putting out. Idea. Scroll stoppers. Editing was probably the worst part until it's the fun part. So remember, I think editing's like an acquired taste. Do as much as you can yourself. Teach yourself. Use AI. Use YouTube videos to learn. I taught myself how to use DaVinci Resolve. I'm not a creative person. I do not believe I'm creative. I just use my superpowers and what I'm good at to create content. So find what you're really good at. Find your niche in the market for things that you think you are good at, and then just leverage those, I would say. Last one, any final thoughts you want to include? Consistency is key. Use the schedule function for anything, whatever platform you're on. Get ahead. Don't expect that every day is going to be an easy one so that you'll have time to make a post. Try to get out as far as you can because that will help you stay consistent. I think that was one of the toughest things to learn. If you can batch things together, like on Sundays, if that's like your slowest day of the week, batch as much creativity or content making as you can, whether you're doing regular posts, whether you're doing video, whether you're recording a bunch of stuff, like do it back to back in one clump, which I call batching. I'm not sure if that's the actual word, but it'll make your time for like when you have time just to sit down and edit, because doing the actual video parts usually takes the longest and it's as much setup. So try to lump those together to do multiple videos at one time when you have the time. The hardest part of all of this is finding time. So just be really good at your time management. Evaluate your ratio of create and consume. So I try to keep an equal balance of when I'm consuming versus creating. So if I want to spend a couple hours playing video games, I kind of force myself to record clips so that I can use those later in life to create things out of them. So make sure you're watching your consume create meter and try to keep that equally balanced. If you want to veg out on Netflix for a couple of hours, realize you're going to have to pay yourself back in the creative space so that you can stay consistent. I think that's all I got. I know it's a short episode, but I thought this would be a cool exercise because oh, wait, I have one more. Okay, no, it's just a promotion one. So wanted to do this little exercise with everyone because I thought his questions were excellent. So once again, check out Anthony on LinkedIn and his Once again, his newsletter is Elevate and Inspire Personal Branding. You can certainly check that out. Check him out on LinkedIn. And I think that's everything I have. I'm going to get this transcript over to him too for these answers to the questions. And yeah, short little podcast episode on personal branding, at least from my point of view. And once again, I'm just learning as well. So some of that may just be complete BS. Just some BS. Bye.